That's right. Our Clinton Area Showboat Theater is back. I just mentioned before we got jumped on the show here that I'm not sure I can contain all this energy in the room now. We have four folks with us from the Clinton Area Showboat. Ryan Krause. Did I get that name, Ryan?
Courtney Ryan Krause.
Courtney. I said Courtney. I guess we'll start off with you. Give us. We've got three other people with us. We'll let you kind of work with them, but give us a little information. How'd you end up here? What led you to the Clinton Area Showboat Theater? I think your head title, artistic director and head person.
That's correct. Yeah, artistic director. I'm from Chicago, and I was there acting and directing professionally for quite a while. I spent a few years as associate artistic director of the Timberlake Playhouse and worked on the team for some other theaters in Chicago as well. And then when the pandemic hit, I ended up going to grad school, and it was sometime around that time I got a call from my friend James Beaudry, who I'm sure people are familiar with, who used to be the artistic director.
He was here 2 or 3 years as summers,
right.
I think. So
that's absolutely right. And he called me and gave me a very funny job offer and basically just said, I have an equity contract. Will you please come to Clinton and do this show? You know what I mean? And so that was my first time being in a show at Clinton. I had seen numerous productions, working over at Timberlake for years. And then the next year was last year, and I spoke to James Kyle, our executive producer at the time, and I said, hey, I had a good time last year. I'd love to direct there. Ended up doing a couple shows last year, and then they asked me to stick around and run the place for a little while.
And every artistic director probably has some different ideas, different things they want to do. What can we expect from your style, your input, your concept of how theater works?
Well, what I really like to pride myself on is casting. I really like to find some of the absolute best talents around and bring it here. You know, I always think theaters like this, I always say this is the closest to Broadway that some of us will ever get to. You know what I mean? Some people around here, and what's so wonderful about the people that I try and find is they're going to come here, and then in 3 or 4 years, you're going to see them on national tours. You're going to see them on Broadway. You're going to see them in movies. So I really like to bring the best talent. I'm also all about shows. If anyone saw $1 Million Quartet last year, I love shows where there's actor-musicians playing live on stage. I love bluegrass music, stuff like that. So that's the stuff I really like. But I also just look forward to bringing everything to the boat that so we have something that everyone likes.
Is bringing that talent the key?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter. How many good ideas, if I'm a director or I have a wonderful lady I'm working with, Jenna, who's a choreographer, if we have these wonderful ideas, but we don't have people to execute them, you know what I mean, then it's just us kind of sitting around going, oh, wouldn't this be cool?
Now, does that put a lot of extra pressure on the three you've got in here?
No.
Now that you've already built them up as being stars?
No, they already got the job. They got the jobs because out of hundreds, if not thousands in some case, of actors, they were the absolute top of the pile. So we're so lucky, as we always are every year, but this year especially, to have just an incredibly talented company with us.
This is the first time when we ask some of these questions. We might not ask them again later. When you do this casting, how do you do that? For some folks who maybe go see the shows and they see all the talent on the stage, how do they get here? How do you find them? And maybe for some people who, we know there are people who don't even know the Showboat exists, or maybe I don't want to go to theater. If we can get them in the door, they might come back. But how does that talent get here? Because you hear that often, and you probably heard it even from every theater you've been in. People walk out the door and go, where does that talent come from?
That's right.
How do you get it here?
Well,
where does it go?
We're our own little industry, and so just like a lot of other industries where you go on, let's say, a job board, you know what I mean, and you look for, let's say, jobs in the area, we have places called Backstage, places called Actors Access that are these online places where we can place, I might say, hello, the Clinton Showboat is seeking actors for these shows for this season, and then the actors go on those websites and they see that, they submit. That's one way. Another way is I travel around. I usually spend January and February going around to different colleges and different what we call cattle calls, which are giant auditions in cities, and just going through and meeting kids at their school, auditioning all the students, going on to the next school. I actually this past year I got to go to James Paul's school in Bowling Green and do that. So that's what we do. We travel all around. We get submissions from online, and we really do, because of that, we're able to get the best people from all around.
Also, this is an equity theater. Tell us a little bit about how that works, because that's a part of your recruiting cast and crew.
That's right. That's right. We are at what's called an SPT2 theater. There's a lot of different tiers. And actually, this guy should be the one talking about this. He knows. He's the one to talk to.
Well,
Tell us who that is.
This
first.
is, yeah, of course. This is James Paul Stover. If you saw $1 Million Quartet last year, you saw his wonderful performance as Sam Phillips, and he's joining us this year in the Addams Family. And James is actually, I believe, an equity representative.
I'm a committee member.
Yeah.
For equity, but kind of going back to your previous statement about how people sort of wind up here. Ryan Scoble, who is the associate producer for this season and is playing Uncle Fester in Addams Family, is I'm a college professor at Bowling Green State University. Ryan's a professor at West Virginia University.
That's correct.
And he was in touch with me because he was coming to audition students at my school, and he just asked, he's like, do you want to audition for the Showboat? And I was like, well, yeah, if I can play Sam Phillips, I'll audition. So I did, and that's how I wound up here, and also a student of mine last season, and a student of mine is working here this season, students from different places. But as far as Actors Equity, it's really lovely because this theater operates on a professional level. It hires union members. It follows union rules. So, the first theater that I ever worked at when I was 20 years old, they kept us working until 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, this was a long time ago, but we follow rules. We act like professionals, and the Clinton Showboat Theater the Clinton Area Showboat Theater has committed to being associated with Actors Equity. So people who have their union card can come and work here, which is a blessing because there are a lot of summer theaters that don't do that anymore.
That's right.
And basically, does that, I guess, pay off in getting actors, but also does that help the other? You mentioned you have college students, for them to learn from.
Yes.
People like you who are more experienced and have
Sure.
your in a sense your union card.
And there are people in our company that don't necessarily have their union card, but are working professionals that have worked on a very high level. But yeah, I think so. I think we'd like to think that, and Kate is a great example of this, who you'll talk to in a minute, of just really setting an example of what it is to walk into a rehearsal space, walk into a performance, and showcase what it is to be a professional performer.
Well, you mentioned that, right? We'll let you introduce Kate, right? We'll let you lean into the mic there. Tell us a little bit about how you ended up here and what your acting experience is all about.
Sure. So I grew up in a very small town in Kentucky, and theater, like the Showboat, is very important to me. I never made it to Broadway as a kid, and so seeing shows like the shows at the Showboat were really formative for me as a kid. And I was lucky enough I'm playing Morticia this summer. I was lucky enough to play her 2 years ago in Chicagoland. And when I saw that the Showboat was doing the show, I was like, I really want to do the show again. So I drove an hour to go to an open call in a suburb of Chicago, and sang my audition song. And Courtney said, well, we know what you're here for. Do you know Morticia's song still? And I said, I think so. And I sang it almost in its entirety. I forgot a little bit towards the end. And we had a chat, and here I am.
And are you doing more than Morticia, or are you just in for this show?
So I'm in 3 of the 4 shows this summer. Not quite a full house, but I don't do a great John Denver. That's been my joke for the day. So I will be in Joseph as well, and choreographing Bright Star, and I'm really looking forward to that one.
We said, Kate, what's the last name? So what's full name so we can look for you in the program?
My full name is Kate Auburn.
So we can look for you in the program and all that. Obviously, you've done some of these shows before. You've done Morticia. We always ask, the Addams Family is. Not all shows are based on a TV show, a movie. So people of a certain age watch the TV show probably weekly, and they know Morticia. How do you do Morticia from such a people of a certain age know what they're going to see, they know what they're going to expect? How do you bring something that will match that expectation? Is that a tough one?
Sure, but I'll give it a shot.
I'll say, if you're watching on YouTube, it says Kate probably doesn't remember the show when it was original. Some of us do.
No, I grew up with the movies from the 90s, but I have watched a lot of the source material. I've read some of the original comics. I think, for me, I read the text that is provided, and I look at who she is and what she wants, and you play that. And then, you're in a black dress, in a long black wig, and you've painted your fingernails black. And we've talked about this, Courtney and I. Morticia exists in a physical world, and I have a dance background, so that is helpful to me. But I think if you are able to operate from that base and move about it in a way that it feels authentic and like a real person. I mean, Morticia is sort of this vampire-esque thing. Is she human? I'm not totally sure. But ultimately, she's a mother. She's a wife. She's a person full of love. She's a little kooky, but she wants the same things we all want. And I think if you approach it from that direction, you're set up pretty well.
And James, down there, we talked to you about the equities part. What will we see you on the stage?
So I'm Mal, was the wrong name, Mal Beinecke. So the story of the Addams Family musical is that Wednesday, the daughter, has fallen in love with what they call a normal boy, and his name is Lucas Beinecke, and that's my character's son. And Wednesday has invited the boy and his parents to a dinner at the Addams Family's home. And so we're this sort of, I'm this tightly wound guy from Ohio, which is perfect because that's who I am. And we go, myself and my wife and Lucas, shout out to Caitlin Tierney and Eric Brooks, who are the Beinecke family members besides me. We go to the Addams Family house for their dinner, and chaos ensues, as they say. So I'm Mal Beinecke, the father of the boy.
And you were on the stage last year for $1 Million Quartet and Rock of Ages. Mm-hmm. How's it playing on the Showboat stage? You obviously been in productions in a number of other places. How
Sure.
is the Showboat stack up performing wise? Is it a different venue?
It's funny because I'm specifically thinking about $1 Million Quartet, and it's so different being an Addams Family than that, because $1 Million Quartet, I spoke directly to the audience, and so it's just such an intimate theatrical experience. Everyone's very close to the stage. You're sort of coming in and out from outside of the boat, and it's just a really unique experience, and you feel very connected to the audience, whatever show that you're doing.
I've heard people say, and maybe all of you can throw into this, especially if you've been in other places, the comment's been made that the back seat of the Showboat is as close as you get to the stage on Broadway, and you're at the back of the theater. Yeah. Is that kind of a perception that maybe people going to the Showboat don't have, that if they haven't been to a large theater that seats hundreds?
Sure, I think that's a really good thing example. But also, you're watching a musical, professional production of a musical on a boat. It's a completely unique experience. When I explain to people back in Ohio or with my friends wherever they are, I'm like, well, no, I'm performing in a show on a 1930s tugboat. They're like, what do you mean? And it's just a really unique theatrical experience. And also, I have to say, I've been working as an actor for 25 years. The quality of the shows at the Clinton area Showboat Theater, especially under Courtney Krause as the director, are excellent. And so hopefully you can come join us and see our work. And we have a really lovely young man who's in our cast, who's joining us, Max Lehman, who's playing Lurch, who you get to hear his beautiful voice in the show. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Max since he's here.
We haven't got to Max. Lean to the mic. Tell us a bit about your background and how you ended up at the Clinton Showboat.
Oh, sure, yeah. So, as Courtney mentioned earlier, the Showboat went around for the casting process to a bunch of colleges around the nation. I'm a rising senior at James Madison University in Harrisonburg, Virginia, and so it was probably early February-ish. Ryan Scoble, he came into town, and he held an audition for all of the musical theater and theater students at my school, and I had a lot of fun, sang my audition, and ended up doing a couple callbacks, and here I am, and I'm very grateful. I'm really excited. This is my first professional gig, and it's so great to be around such not only talented and hardworking people, but also just the the passion and love that I think the cast, crew, creative teams of the Showboat bring to the performances, I think it like everyone in the production can feel it, and I think it's going to be able to show on the stage tonight.
Is Lurch a comedic character for the show, or not? On purpose or accidental?
I'd say a little bit of both. You know, they say, like, he's kind of, what's the line? Living, dead, or undecided. Yeah, so, you know, Lurch is kind of like a, you know, undead zombie butler, and he's just trying his best. But he really cares about the family, and, you know, he's not very coordinated or, you know, quick or by any means, but he just wants to make the night for the Addams family and the Beinecke's as good and as fun as it can be. And yeah, I have a lot of fun playing Lurch, and it's a blast to bring some of those silly jokes to life.
A quick tip for audience members: at some point during the opening number, please watch Lurch dance. It is wonderful.
Yeah, is Thing going to make an appearance?
Well, you have to come see the show.
Yeah. Well,
We can't tell you everything right here.
well, why not? Why not? Give it away. Back to says your first experience here. How is it getting, I guess, dropped into a cast? And maybe all of you want to address this, but we always ask it because you've never met anyone. Nobody knows anybody coming in to this. Now, you've been you're here for 2 or 3 shows, you kind of know the people, but especially the opening show, nobody knows anybody. How is that coming into that scenario to pick up the camaraderie, the cohesiveness to be able to pull a show off?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'll be honest, I came in really nervous. You know, yeah, like I didn't know a single person coming here, cast, crew, anything else. And with it also being my first professional gig, yeah, I came in nervous, but, you know, like, got in the room, we started our first music rehearsal, and I just feel like everyone was like, okay, great, this is gonna be an awesome summer. We're gonna do whatever we can to, you know, like I said, have fun. And just, it's been like a great process so far, because everyone just loves it, from what I can tell, loves being around each other, and like everyone just like clicked instantly. And so I'm super thankful to have like such an amazing group of people to be around for this new area. I never been to Iowa before, so I mean, it's Clinton has been awesome, and it's, you know, very much because of the people that are making this process happen.
James, what about you? You've always been in different productions, different places. How is it to just jump into a new place? You've had that experience, but every time you do, it's probably something new and different.
Yeah, I'll say this, last
You
summer.
know your way around town, don't you?
Yeah, I was here last summer, and I worked with Courtney on 2 shows. I remember I came out here last summer. You know, I'm a little older than maybe some of the cast, especially the Moondog Quartet guys were, you know, significantly younger than me. And I was kind of like, I'm not gonna like hang out with them. I mean, like they're young. Like I'm the old guy, I guess. But immediately, like by the 3rd day, like we were an inseparable group. And same thing when I joined a little late. I was finishing up some stuff in Ohio, so I got here I think the end of the first week, and immediately. Both of the Beinecke's, Caitlin and Eric, just like marched right up to me and said, "Hey, we're a family. We're gonna hang out and we're gonna have a great time." We had a family dinner the first week, and knowing Courtney, knowing Ryan, knowing some of the crew, like it's a really nice dynamic.
Kate, what about you? I know you've done some of these before. How is it coming in?
Sure. So the best and worst part of the job is that your coworkers change all the time, right? It's so fun coming in and meeting a new group of folks, and then, 2 weeks later, some folks leave for their next gig. But I think, especially in a company like this, where you've got some folks who are staying for the summer, and I'm sure Courtney could speak to this, the hiring is so important, because you're not only hiring the performers, but you're hiring the roommates. And we, like Max said, we have such a great, not only talented, but great human beings group of people. And I'm just really looking forward to the rest of the summer.
Courtney, maybe you can wrap things up. Address that a little bit too, getting those people in. And I have heard this term before. I've not the first time I've talked about this. One of the performers used the term forced intimacy, and I don't know if that's if that's a good term or not, because I think when people see a show and the cast either has that cohesiveness or they don't.
That's right.
And that's a key to whether the show works or not, I think.
Yeah.
Is that a fair assumption?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just like anything else, the saying rings true. You know, a bad apple can ruin the bunch. And when you have a job like mine, one of the best skills that you can attune yourself to is really getting to know someone in about 5 minutes, because sometimes that's as much time as I have to get to know someone. And usually what happens is someone will come in, you know, like with these guys, it's like they came in and right when they open their mouths, after about 3 seconds, I'm like, okay, well, the talent is there. That's no longer a question, right? So then the thing to do is you just got to talk to them. You have a very limited amount of time to be like, all right, is this the kind of person that I want to spend 3 months with? Because that's how I judge, right? It's your talent is the base level. Everyone is so talented. But yes, how do we get 35, 40 people together that have never met each other, that can coexist, can be roommates, you know, can do all these shows together, can forced intimacy, right? You're all of a sudden you're changing in a room together. You've known each other for a few days, you know, and that's one of the, you know, more challenging parts of my job sometimes is, you know, you see someone and you spend some time with them and you say, well, I think this person seems cool. I think I want to spend 3 months with them, you know, and luckily I've gotten some pretty good luck the past few years. So, but it can be challenging.
Quickly, tickets, the Addams Family, the musical.
That's right, tickets for the Addams
We can see
Family.
Max, James, Kate. We see them on the stage. We don't forget and Lurch dancing in the first scene.
Check out Lurch dancing in the opening number.
So, what about tickets? Still some available? Not many.
There's still some. Oh, there's tickets available. I will say we are selling out for tonight, and we are selling out on Saturday. But there are still tickets available, and we would love to get the last seats filled for tonight and Saturday. So you can go online to ClintonShowboat.com, and if you go there, you can pick the seats that you want. It's not general admission, so you can actually, you know, if you're like me, you like to sit up in the balcony. You can say, oh look, 2 seats right there for me and my husband, or me and my wife. You know, we'll sit right there. So you can do that online, or you can call our box office at 563-242-6760 and tell them that you want to see the Addams Family.
And then make reservations for the rest of the season while you're at it.
Absolutely. Please, get a season pass. Come see us.
All right. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much for having us.
Intelligence for your health. This is KROS 1340 AM and now at 105.9 FM on top of the hill and sounding better than ever.